Hi and welcome to Priori Digital Studio tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to set up and use your project management tools in the most efficient way. In this video, I am using Google Sheets, but the Excel version is exactly the same. First thing, we protect most of the cells where there are formulas to make sure that you don't erase any important formulas that could impact the spreadsheet. So if you see this message, it means that you are not supposed to touch this cell. But don't worry, I will show you step by step how to prepare your spreadsheet. If by mistake you do touch a cell where there is a formula and you see this message, simply click on the X and you will be fine. Moreover, we established a color code to show you which cells can be edited and which ones cannot. So basically, you only can edit the cells that have a white background. On another important note, please do not move a cell from one place to another. If you do move a cell, it could generate an issue by messing up the automatization of the spreadsheet. The best way to avoid these errors is to copy and paste your data. So the first tab of this spreadsheet is the Setup tab. In this tab, you will set up all your information needed for the spreadsheet. The first step is to enter your currency symbol. So I'm in dollars, so I can simply type in the $sign. If you're in euro, you simply type in the euro sign. Then you will see a lot of tables that are useful to set up the other tabs of this spreadsheet, and particularly the drop-down menus. The first table is to help you define a list of emoji that you can use to easily visualize your task and project status. You will be able to add more emojis by using a website like Emojipedia. Then in the other tables like the status, the Kanban category, the person in charge, the communication type, project data, and feedback, you simply have to type in information. This will basically populate the drop-down menu. So for example, here I already typed in some status like to do, in progress, on hold, to review. You see the drill. Same thing with the person in charge. I wrote a few of my business partners, for example. And then in the project data, I have some project types and project categories. This is for sure going to fit your own business, so you write things that fits to your business model. The last section is a little bit different. This allows you to define the working days for your projects as well as the holidays for the Gantt chart. So this might depend on your weekdays. Do you work on the weekend or only on the weekdays? And it could also depend on your countries and the holidays where you live. I will skip the dashboard tab for now, and we will go back at the end when we understand the whole spreadsheet. So now let's explore the task tracker tab, which offers a user-friendly interface. You simply need to input your tasks and associated data, such as the status, which is chosen from a drop-down menu, the priority, the person in charge, the start date, and the due date. The system automatically calculates the days left. Hence why the background is in gray, because it's automated. This tab is linked with the Kanban board, and you will be able to define the Kanban categories as well as the progress. There is also a designated area for notes if needed. Upon completing a task, you can mark it by checking the checkbox on the left side of the table, resulting in a strike-through effect. So this way you easily can know which tasks are done and which one are not. At the top of the tab, you will find task statistics presented through a bar chart that represents the task priority, and two pie charts, one sorting tasks by status and the other one illustrating distribution per person in charge. You also have on the left-hand side the possibility to highlight a task to do a quick research, as well as the overall number of completed tasks and the number of tasks due today. So let's take an example together and add a new task. So let's say the task name is IT infrastructure upgrade. So you simply type it in. And then let's say our description is simply to upgrade the server. Then in the status, you will use the drop-down menu to choose the status. Let's say it's in progress. and then use again the drop-down menu to choose a priority. Let's say it's medium. Again, I want to remember you that if you want to have more options in the drop-down menus, you can simply add them in the Setup tab. Then let's choose the person in charge. In this case, it's going to be Marco. And then double click if you are on Google Sheet to see this little calendar and choose a date. If you are on Excel, however, you will have to type in the date. This little calendar feature is unfortunately not available on Excel. So in this case, the start date will be June 23rd. And then let's say that the end date will be July 1st. As you can see, in the start date, June 23rd is highlighted in green because it is today's date. And then in the days left column, this calculates automatically how many days left to accomplish this task. In this case, we only have 8 days. Then in the Kanban category, we also use the drop-down menu to select what we want. So in this case, it's going to be in the backlog. Don't worry, we will cover the Kanban in the next few minutes. And then we have also our progression. So in this case, it's 0. If I wanted to take notes, I could in this space right here. We also added a filter features of your tasks for you to easily see all of them or filter them if needed. To access it, you could simply scroll to the right or click on the yellow button at the top left of the tab. So there's a lot of filter possibilities in this tab since there's a lot of different columns. I will not go through all the details of every filter, but basically you can filter all the columns you have and even sort your due date ascending or descending. So let's take an example together. So as you can see here, I already selected the completed tasks. Then I can also filter by status. So it means that it will be both filtered by completed and the status. So let's click on in progress. So as you can see here, we see our example that we entered a few minutes ago, which is to update the IT infrastructure. We could also filter this by priority or person in charge. So let's add the person in charge, for example. Let's say we want Marco only's task. So as you can see here, Marco only has this task, which is in completed and status in progress. So let's delete all those filters. You simply have to click on the cell and click on delete. As you can see, all your tasks will reappear. You could also filter it by the number of days left. Same thing, this is simply a drop-down menu, or by the Kanban category. Then you could also filter it by due date. So this is like a bracket of due date. So we could select a date here. So let's double click here, see the little calendar, and let's filter it from the beginning of June to the end of June. So 1st of June and then 30th of June. So as you can see here, we see all of our tasks within the month of June. So this feature is very powerful and you can basically filter all your tasks in any way that you would like to see them. So now let's have a look at the communication log tab, which is very similar to a database type of tab. In this tab, you simply have to manually enter all your communication for your projects. This table is really straightforward and you simply have to enter the date, the time, select a communication type, enter an agenda, then a summary of what you discussed, the action to take, and select if you need to do a follow-up or not. You can also enter up to 5 different participants to this communication. We also left some room for you to add an attachment or some notes. So in this tab, you can also filter these data. The filter feature is still on the right side of the page and accessible via a button. This tab is a little bit different since the filter section is not on top of the table, but on the left side of the filter section. But the features are exactly the same. You can filter the dates, the communication type, and sort the date ascending or descending. So let's take an example together and let's put a bracket time from the beginning of June to the end of the month. So again, 1st of June and then 30th of June. As you can see here, it seems like we have a few communication within that month. Then we can use the drop-down menu to select the communication type. Let's click on email. As you can see here, we have only 2 types of communication using the email for this month. Then we could also use the drop-down menu for the follow-up required, yes or no. So let's click on yes. Both of them are yes, so this doesn't change much. And then sorts the date by. It could be ascending or descending. If you want to remove all the filter, this is the same drill. Simply delete the information here and then all your data will reappear. So now let's take a look at the Kanban Board tab. Before I explain this tab, for the people who don't really know what is a Kanban board, I will explain it a little bit. So basically, a Kanban board is an agile project management tools designed to help you visualize work, limit work in progress, and maximize efficiency of work or your flow. So this is a very powerful tab, and if used properly, it could really help you better manage your projects. So in this tab, everything is automated based on the task tracker tab that we saw a few minutes ago. The only thing you have to manage is the filter option, which is at the top of the tab. So to see your filter option, you can simply click on the small plus here. So let's do that. If you see this message only for this tab, you can click on OK. As you can see here, we see all the filter features just like the other 2 tabs. So to help you better filter your card or better see your project status, you can use a lot of filter here. So as an example, let's go and look for our example that we wrote earlier, which was the IT infrastructure upgrade. So the status of this task was in progress. So as you can see here, we see all our tasks in progress. So if you remember in the task tracker, within the Kanban board column, we selected using the drop-down menu, the backlog. So as you can see, this is reflected on our Kanban board. The IT infrastructure upgrade is in fact in the backlog column or backlog category. So as you can see here on another important note, there is a difference between the status, which in this case for this specific task is in progress, and the Kanban category. So the Kanban category was in backlog. You basically deal however you want with your tasks, but personally how I like to do it is basically the status is really where I am within the task. So in this case, it's in progress. And then the Kanban board category helps me see where I am with my team. So meaning that this would not be taken into work with the team. This could also be, for example, in progress within the Kanban as well. A Kanban board can be used in very different ways. In this example, I put a few categories like backlog, to-dos, progress, in review, and done, etc. But this could be also different types of projects. It could be people, for example. It could be my team member's name. You basically decide how you want to organize your Kanban board. But keep in mind that this is a very, very visual way of seeing your tasks. So organize it in a way that works with your business. On another important note, this tab is fully automated, so you cannot move a card manually. You will have to move it directly within the task tracker. So let's go back to our example and change the IT infrastructure upgrade. Let's change the Kanban category from backlog to in progress. Then now let's go back to our Kanban board and as you can see, this card changed automatically to the in progress column. So let's remove the filter in progress so that we have more of our cards that reappear. And then I will show you how the legend and the colors work. So on the right hand side of the filter, you have a small legend of the colors and the tasks boxes. So as you can see, all the tasks are colored based on their priority. So we have yellow, orange, pink, you see the drill. To easily access the task tracker tab, you could also click on the green button at the top of the tab. So now let's have a look at the project overview tab. This tab is really similar to the Task Tracker tab, but the big difference between those two tabs is their purpose. Basically, the Project Overview tab allows you to list all your projects. So, as a quick reminder, a project is composed of a lot of small tasks. In general, a project takes longer to achieve compared to a single task. So, you will be able to enter the project name, the client name, start date and end date, progress, and status. There is a big column dedicated to a small description. Then you could attribute a project to a project manager in the person in charge column. You can also define the project type and project category. You also have four columns that will cover the budget of your projects. The first one is to define your budget. The second one, the real expenses, meaning the expenses that you really incurred. And then the revenue. The profit column is automated. You also have some space for notes if needed. Upon completing a project, you can mark it by checking the checkbox on the left side of the table, resulting in a strike-through effect. At the top of the tab, you'll find task statistics of your project, especially the status distribution and the project manager distribution. You also have on the left-hand side the overall number of completed projects and the number of projects due today. Then you have two charts with your overall budget information, so the budget versus the expenses, as well as a chart representing your expenses, revenue, and overall profit. So let's take an example together and enter a new project. So let's say our new project name is simply New Venture. The person in charge, the client name is John Doe. And then for the start date, let's say it's today, so June 23rd. As you can see, since it's today's date, it's gonna be highlighted in green. Then let's choose the end date. Let's just put the end of July. And then this is a new project, so the progression is 0. And the status will be started. And then we can write a small description. Let's just say a difficult project. And then let's use the drop-down menu to select a person in charge. In this case, it's gonna be Jessica Jones. And then the project type is simply software development project. As you can see here, it's all in the drop-down menu. And another reminder, if you want to add more information to your drop-down menu, simply add them to the setup tab. And then the project category will be, let's say, environmental and sustainability. For now, I will keep the budget, the expenses, and the revenue empty. This will be defined within our project budget tab. So as you can see here, the three tabs with the blue circles are not necessarily linked together, but they work together. Same thing with the task tracker and the Kanban board that we viewed earlier in this tutorial. This tab also has a filter feature. So to access it, you could simply scroll right or click on the button here. There's also a lot of filter possibility in this tab since there is a lot of different columns. I will not go through all the details of every filter possibility, but basically you can filter all the columns that you have and even sort your due dates ascending or descending. So let's just add some data here to show you how the filter works. So started, and then the person in charge, let's put Jessica again to find our example. So as you can see here, we could find the example that we just entered. To remove the filter, it's the same drill. You simply click on delete, and then all the data will reappear. So now let's take a look at the Gantt Chart tab. This Gantt Chart tab will allow you to easily visualize all the tasks for a specific project. So the first step is to select the project that you wish to visualize. So simply use the drop-down menu here. So let's keep the Quantum Odyssey Ventures as an example. So basically the whole tab is for only one project. So if you want to track another project, for example, at the same time, Then you will simply have to duplicate this tab. To duplicate, simply click on the tab name and then click on duplicate. The first step is to define your project based on the list of projects in the Project Overview tab. The Gantt chart is separated into 15 phases that you can easily open with the small plus in the left margin. And in each phase, there are up to 15 tasks. So as you can see, this tab is also very powerful and could really help you track your project properly. For each task, you can define its name, progress, and define start and end date. It will automatically calculate the duration and the total work days based on the setup that you enter at the beginning. Then you can define different parameters of your task like the priority and the person in charge. The status is automated depending on today's date, your start and end date. The remaining days are also automated, and you are able to visualize the total number of days left, which includes the weekends or the days that you do not work. Then you also can see the number of working days left, meaning the days that you work and the ones that you set up in the setup tab. And then the number of delayed days in the task if the task is overdue. Then you can also define the color of this task in the chart. Once your task is done, simply change the progress to 100% or tick the checkbox on the left-hand side of this tab. Once all your tasks are set up, the chart on the right side is totally automated with the color defined in the last column. At the top of your chart, you will find all the calendar days as well as the weekly separation for a better visual. Today's date is highlighted in red and the work days are in white. The non-working days are in light gray while the holidays are in dark gray. These days are defined in the Setup tab. A small legend is at the top of the page to help you understand the color code. So let's take an example together and add another task into our phase 1 of this project. So let's say that our task is post-implementation review. So we simply type it in. Small reminder that everything that is with a gray background means that it is automated, so you do not need to enter any information. Let's say that our progression is 12%, just for an example. And then let's say the start date was at the beginning of the month of June. And then let's say the end date is at the end of July. Again, the duration and work days are automated, so you do not need to enter any information. Then let's use our drop-down menu to select the priority. Let's say it's low. And then use the drop-down menu to select the person in charge. Let's say this one is Liam. And then as you can see, the status is in progress. This is automated. The days left, work days left, and delayed days are also automated. So let's choose a color to better see this on our Gantt chart. So let's simply choose blue. So let's make a small change for you to see what happens when we have delays. So let's change the end date for mid-June, and then we will see what happens on the Gantt chart. So as you can see here, it's delayed and everything appears in red. And then if we go to the chart, as you can see here, we have from the time it is delayed, it's now in red. For a better visualization of your projects, we also added a on hold in the priority drop-down menu. So if you click on it, everything will be highlighted in gray, meaning that this project is stopped for whatever reason. In the Gantt chart, this is also changed for gray. So now let's take a look at the Project Budget tab. This tab allows you to easily define the budget of your projects and track the expenses to see if you are still financially on track. The principle is the same as for the Gantt chart. This tab allows you to track only one project. So if you want to track multiple projects at the same time, you will have to duplicate the tab. So you simply have to select your project at the top of the page, and all the data of your project is automatically imported. Then you simply have to enter your tasks. You should be able to easily copy and paste the task from the Gantt chart. So let's take an example together and copy a task from the Gantt chart. So let's go find a task in the Gantt chart. So let's take any one. So then copy, and then go back to your project budget, and then special, paste, and formula only. Once your task is copied, you can add a description to the task if needed, define a status and a start date and an end date. So let's take an example together. Our task is change management implementation. Let's say this is going to take time, something like this. Then we can use the drop down menu to choose the status. Let's say this is started. The planned start date was the beginning of June. Let's say that the actual start date was mid-June. And then the end date is at the end of June. So once this is done, you have three main columns to define the budget of your project: labor, materials, and fixed costs. Then there is a summary of your cost in the balance column. So this is a good tab to help you build a quote for a customer, for example. In the labor column, you simply have to enter the number of hours you plan to spend on this task and the hourly rate. The total labor is automated, and if you have multiple hourly rate, you can use multiple rows for this one tasks. So let's take an example together, and let's say that it's gonna take 10 hours and that the hourly rate is $50. As you can see here, the total labor column is automated. Then in the material column, the principle is the same. Simply enter the number of units and the unit price. Then the total material cost is automated. So let's say we have 150 units, and this is all $10 each. The total material cost is added. Then concerning the fixed cost, it is simply three columns to calculate the price for the travel or the equipment, for example. So let's say that you have some travel to do. This is $100. It's a fixed cost. And let's say that you're renting some equipment or things like this. And then let's say it's $1,000. And then we have some miscellaneous. In this example, let's just put 0. Then these three columns are auto-populated in the budget tab in the balance column. So as you can see here, our example comes to a total of $3,100. Then the goal of this tab is to compare your real cost to your budget. To populate the real column, you simply have to scroll to the right and enter all your real expenses in the expense tracker table and associated to a task. So simply enter a date, select a task, and enter an amount. So let's take an example together. Let's say that today, so then simply find your task, which in our example was change management implementation, and then enter an amount. So let's enter $1,000. If you have more spending for this specific project, you can enter multiple lines for the same project. Once the budget and the real column are populated, the difference column and the progress will appear. So as you can see here, it seems like in our example, we still have $2,000 to spend on this project, and then we spent already 32% of our budget. And then as you can see here, we have another column named with the percentage symbol, and it represents the portion of the expense for this task compared to the overall project, meaning that our last task and the example is 6% of our total project expenses. So in other words, $1,000 is 6% of this $16,000, which is the total cost for the whole project. Once this tab is completed, the best is to come back to the project overview tab and fill the budget expenses, and revenue column. The profit is auto-populated. And in the Project Budget tab at the top of the page, there are a lot of charts to illustrate the financial aspect of the project, like a financial overview, a task distribution, a budget distribution, and a comparison of the budget versus the real expenses. There's also a budget expenses progress to verify if we did not overspend for a specific project. So now let's have a look at the Feedback and Improvement tab. This tab will allow you to enter all the feedback received to improve your work quality. So this is a really straightforward table where you can enter the date, the source, and the type of feedback, a description, an action taken, and finally a status. You can also enter data if a follow-up is required or not, a date for the resolution, and the lesson you learned, and also some random notes if needed. So nothing is automated in this table, and you simply have to fill all the columns manually. This is basically another data-based type of tab. Then you also have the possibility to filter these data on the right side of the tab. You can basically filter all the columns and of the table. So at this point, I think we all know how the filter works. It's the same principle and the same way as previous tabs. So finally, let's take a look at the dashboard. In this tab, you will be able to visualize your tasks and projects. This tab is also linked to the Kanban Board tab as well as the Gantt Chart at the top right. Simply click on one of these icons and the spreadsheet will open in the appropriate tab. The dashboard is separated into two sections. On the left-hand side, there is a task overview, and on the right-hand side, a project overview. So you will be able to visualize all your tasks and projects due today and their progress. And below, you will find a lot of charts to properly understand all the parameters of your tasks and projects. So that's it. I hope this tutorial helps you easily set up your spreadsheet. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Follow Priori Digital Studio on YouTube for sneak peeks on our new templates.